Have you ever wondered how people with seemingly primitive tools could cut granite? These stone blocks weigh hundreds of tons, yet they are fitted together so tightly that not even a knife blade can pass between them. Strange, isn't it? History books tell us that ancient builders possessed only copper chisels and hemp ropes. But when we see drill marks that even modern diamond drills struggle to replicate, the official version becomes difficult to believe. Is it merely a coincidence that similar technologies are found in Peru, Egypt, and Japan, even though these civilizations were separated by thousands of kilometers and thousands of years? Today we embark on a journey to 6 of the planet's most enigmatic locations. Archaeologists have debated these sites for decades, but today we will attempt to separate the mystique from the verifiable facts. Prepare yourself, because what you are about to discover may completely overturn your understanding of humanity's past. Our first stop is Java Island in Indonesia. For centuries, local people have journeyed to Mount Padang, Gunung Padang, to pray to the spirits of their ancestors, considering it simply a sacred hill topped with ancient stones. Everything changed in 2010 when geologists arrived not to pray, but to work. They began scanning the soil with ground-penetrating radar, hoping to study the region's seismic activity. But the instruments revealed something shocking. Beneath the layer of earth and grass lay not an ordinary mountain, but a gigantic man-made structure. When scientists conducted radiocarbon dating on organic material found between the stones at a depth of 30 meters, the result compelled them to recheck their equipment. The test indicated an age of approximately 20,000 years. To grasp the scale, this dates back to the depths of the last ice age, when mammoths still roamed the earth and the Egyptian pyramids were still 15,000 years in the future. This news instantly ignited the internet because it shatters the conventional picture of the world. According to mainstream science, people 20,000 years ago were simple hunters and gatherers, living in caves and rudimentary shelters. They simply could not have organized a construction project of this magnitude because they lacked both a state and agriculture to feed an army of workers. Immediately, proponents of alternative history declared that Gunung Padang was proof of the existence of Atlantis, or another highly advanced civilization that perished during a global flood. After all, who else could have possessed the technologies to create the world's oldest pyramid, if not a forgotten race of giants or extraterrestrials who taught our ancestors? However, the reality proved to be somewhat more prosaic, but no less intriguing. Once the initial excitement subsided, geologists explained the nature of these mysterious stone blocks. They are so-called columnar basalts, a phenomenon that occurs when lava in a volcano's vent cools and fractures into perfect hexagonal columns. In other words, nature, not an alien factory, cast the bricks for this pyramid. But the most astonishing aspect lies elsewhere. Ancient people did indeed discover this place, and without sophisticated technology, they managed to haul thousands of these heavy columns to reinforce the slopes and create terraces. This is not a construction from scratch, but a grandiose modification of the natural landscape. The main mystery here lies not in lasers, but in sociology. How did tribes of hunters manage to unite and work together for centuries toward a single goal without kings or overseers? In Indonesia, ancient peoples utilized the gifts of nature, simply moving pre-existing stones. But across the continent, in India, something far more perplexing awaits. Here, nature alone cannot explain the feat, for the builders didn't erect a mountain. They meticulously annihilated one to create a masterpiece beyond replication. Welcome to Maharashtra, home to the Kailasa temple. The first glimpse of this structure defies comprehension. Buildings typically rise from the ground up, foundation first, then walls and roof. But here, the process was inverted. This temple, towering the height of a 9-story building, isn't constructed from blocks. It's entirely carved from a single colossal rock, sculpted from the top down. Imagine a sculptor taking raw stone and chiseling away the excess to reveal a statue within. Now envision that statue as a vast complex, complete with columns, halls, elephantine sculptures, and intricate carvings, every detail an integral part of the monolith. To achieve this marvel, workers had to excavate and remove 200,000 tons of volcanic rock from the quarry. Load that stone into railway cars, and the train would stretch for 40 kilometers. And here's the truly astonishing part. The architects had no margin for error. A single misplaced strike, a chip off an elephant statue's nose, could not be rectified. No glue, no replacement block could save it. The entire temple would be irrevocably ruined. Official records state that the temple was built in just 18 years during the 7th century AD. And this is where the mathematics begin to unravel the minds of researchers. Dividing 200,000 tons by 18 years reveals an impossible truth. Workers would have had to extract and remove over 30 tons of stone every single day, without rest, without holidays, through rain and scorching sun. And that's before even considering the time required for planning and the delicate art of carving. Many believe that such a feat was impossible with mere picks and hammers. A popular theory circulating online suggests that the ancient Indians possessed technologies now lost to us, from colossal machines whose traces are supposedly visible on the walls, to focused sound capable of softening stone, or even lasers left behind by extraterrestrial visitors. After all, how else can we explain such speed and precision when even today creating a similar monument would be an engineering nightmare? However, the answer may not lie in alien technology, but in ingenious labor organization. Engineers have explained that the secret to the speed lay in a method of vertical excavation. Workers didn't need to hoist heavy stones upwards as in the construction of the pyramids. Gravity became their ally, as debris was simply cast downwards. As for tools, the ancient masters employed steel wedges. They drilled a series of holes in the rock, inserted dry wooden wedges, and then saturated them with water. As the wood swelled, it exerted tremendous force, splitting the stone precisely along the desired line. But the ultimate resource available to the ancient rulers was manpower. Thousands of stonemasons worked in shifts around the clock, transforming the rock into a work of art. Kailasa stands not as a testament to forgotten technologies, but to human perseverance and discipline, a force sometimes more powerful than any laser. For centuries, a temple stood in plain sight, inspiring awe in pilgrims. But another structure remained hidden from humanity, submerged beneath the waves, until a lone diver, simply searching for sharks, stumbled upon it. We journey now to the westernmost point of Japan, Yonaguni Island. In 1986, Kihachiro Arataki, a diving instructor, descended into these waters, seeking a new location to observe hammerhead sharks. Instead of fish, he encountered something that stole his breath away. Before him rose a colossal stone structure, resembling a stepped pyramid or a fortress. Arataki observed perfectly level terraces, right angles that appeared as man-made steps, and even strange formations resembling a road winding around the monument. The object's dimensions are staggering, stretching 150 meters in length and 40 meters in width. When news of the discovery reached the mainland, the world buzzed with talk of a Japanese Atlantis. The problem? This city lies underwater. The ocean level in this area was only this low during the last ice age, approximately 10,000 years ago. If this is indeed a man-made city, it predates the Egyptian pyramids and Sumerian cities by 5,000 years. Advocates of an ancient civilization theory claim these are the remnants of the legendary continent of Mu, a Pacific analog to Atlantis. They point to details difficult to attribute to nature alone. Two round holes on the edge of a slab resembling placements for columns, and a rock formation resembling a giant turtle or human head gazing southward. Who, if not a forgotten great civilization, could have constructed such a port before it was swallowed by the ocean? The scientific community is divided. Archaeologists shake their heads in skepticism, but geologists offer a compelling explanation. Yonaguni's rock consists of sandstone and mudstone, formations known to fracture along straight lines when tectonic plates shift. Powerful underwater currents over centuries washed away smaller stones, leaving only large blocks with even faces. What we perceive as steps and terraces, they argue, is the result of natural forces, not architects. However, there's a nuance even skeptics concede. It's possible that nature created the foundation, a rough draft, and ancient people, living here before the flood, refined it. They could have used the natural platforms as a quarry or a sanctuary, smoothing angles and carving passages. So perhaps the truth lies somewhere in between, a masterpiece created in collaboration between nature and humankind. Water can hold secrets, but sometimes the earth hides them even more securely. In Turkey, a farmer, simply wanting to renovate his basement, stumbled upon an entrance to what felt like the underworld, where thousands of people had been concealed for centuries. Imagine discovering a dark tunnel leading into the unknown while renovating your home and demolishing an old basement wall. This is precisely what happened in 1963 to an ordinary resident of the Cappadocia region of Turkey. Little did he know that behind his wall lay not just a cellar, but the gateway to Derinkuyu, one of the largest underground cities in the world. When archaeologists arrived and began excavating, they were stunned by the sheer scale. This wasn't just a collection of caves. It was a veritable metropolis extending 18 stories beneath the surface. Here, in complete darkness, 20,000 people, along with their livestock, could live, eat, and sleep simultaneously. They had everything: schools, churches, wine cellars, oil presses, and livestock pens. But the most unsettling aspect was the depth. The shafts plunge 85 meters down, and air is supplied through an ingenious ventilation system, virtually undetectable from the surface. Why would anyone willingly choose to live underground, like moles deprived of sunlight? Immediately, conspiracy theorists proposed that Derinkuyu was built as a bunker in case of a global catastrophe. Perhaps ancient people were hiding from a nuclear war of the past, an ice age, or even an alien invasion with extraterrestrial beings patrolling the skies. Proponents of the ancient astronaut theory point to the strange security measures: narrow corridors passable only in single file, and massive stone wheel doors weighing half a ton that can only be closed from the inside. From whom were they so desperately protecting themselves? Historians offer a more terrestrial, yet no less dramatic explanation. Derinkuyu was indeed a refuge, but not from extraterrestrials, but from very real people. For centuries, these lands were an arena of war. First, raids by the Romans, then the Arabs, and later the Mongols. The local inhabitants exploited the softness of the volcanic tuff rock. This stone is easily cut while underground, but hardens quickly upon contact with air, becoming as strong as concrete. It was the perfect fortification project. When an enemy approached, the entire population of the city simply vanished underground, sealing the entrances with enormous stones. Enemies could walk across the surface completely unaware that life was teeming beneath their feet. This is a monument not to fear, but to the incredible thirst for life and the ingenuity of people driven into a corner. Derinkuyu was a refuge for the living, a place where people escaped the ravages of war. But in the vast expanse of the Pacific Ocean, there exists a place the locals call the City of the Dead, a place they fear to sail near even today. Venture to the remote island of Ponape in the heart of the Pacific, and the islanders will offer a stark warning. Never linger in the ruins of Nan Madol after nightfall. By day, it appears as an astonishing feat of engineering, but as darkness descends, the islanders whisper. The spirits of ancient kings awaken, and they do not welcome intruders. Nan Madol stands alone, an ancient city unlike any other, erected not on solid ground, but directly upon the water, amidst a labyrinth of mangrove forests and coral reefs. This is no mere collection of stilt houses. It is a sprawling complex of 92 artificial islands, meticulously crafted by human hands and interwoven with a network of canals, earning it the moniker Venice of the Pacific. Yet, unlike its romantic Italian counterpart, Nan Madol exudes an atmosphere of oppressive, imposing grandeur. The city's walls rise an imposing 8 meters above the water's surface, the height of a 3-story building. They are constructed from countless basalt logs, each a colossal stone column weighing between 5 and 50 tons. In total, the stones used in Nan Madol's construction amount to an estimated 750,000 tons. To grasp the sheer scale of this undertaking, consider this. It rivals the volume of stone in the Great Pyramid of Cheops. But while the pyramid was built by the entire ancient Egyptian civilization, with its million-strong population and advanced economy, Ponape, according to anthropological estimates, was home to a mere 25,000 people at the time. They possessed no metal tools, no wheels, no sophisticated machinery. How then did they manage to quarry these colossal blocks from the opposite side of the island, transport them through dense jungles and treacherous swamps, and then position them with such precision in the water? The local inhabitants still believe the site is cursed, and they have reason to think so. In 1907, Victor Berg, the German governor overseeing the island, decided to defy the legends. Against the pleas of the locals, he opened one of the tombs of the ancient rulers in the heart of Nan Madol. Berg was triumphant, discovering within the tomb the bones of giants, far larger than ordinary men. But his triumph was short-lived. The following morning, the governor died suddenly in terrible agony, and doctors were unable to determine the cause of death. The locals declared then, as they do now, he disturbed the soddler's rest. For decades, the enigma of Nan Madol's construction has baffled researchers. How could anyone haul a 50-ton stone column through a jungle devoid of roads? Wheels would have sunk instantly into the mud. Dragging it? The friction would have required thousands of people, a workforce simply unavailable on the island. This is why the most popular theory among locals and those drawn to the mystical is magic. Legends speak of 2 twin brothers, Olosopa and Olosipa, who arrived from across the sea. They were said to be powerful sorcerers, capable of manipulating gravity. They would sit on the shore and play magical instruments, and to the sound of this music, enormous basalt blocks would rise into the air and fly to their designated positions like birds. Advocates of the ancient astronaut theory go even further. They point to the strange magnetic anomalies frequently recorded in the vicinity of Nan Madol. Compasses sometimes go haywire here, and electronics malfunction. Conspiracy theorists believe that the basalt columns are not merely building materials, but components of a gigantic energy installation or antenna left behind by extraterrestrial beings. After all, from a bird's eye view, the city's layout does resemble a complex circuit board, with the canals serving as conductors. Could this be why Victor Berg perished? Did he simply fall victim to residual radiation or an unknown form of energy? Scientists, of course, dismiss the notion of levitation, but even they acknowledge that Nan Madol's engineers were logistical geniuses. The key to unlocking the secret of the stone's transportation came when archaeologists decided to move beyond speculation and experiment. They realized that dragging the stones across land would have been futile. The islanders utilized the ocean. Basalt columns were suspended beneath large rafts made of bamboo and wood. In the water, the stone becomes slightly lighter, and the buoyancy of the rafts prevented it from sinking. But how do you raise 50 tons to a height of 8 meters without cranes? The answer lies in the method of the inclined plane. The builders laid logs crosswise, similar to the construction of wooden cabins, only using stone. They used palm trunks as levers, gradually raising the structure layer by layer. But perhaps the most intriguing discovery concerns not the technology, but the reason for the construction. Why expend so much effort? The answer proves chillingly cynical. Nan Madol was built by the Saqqara dynasty, not as a temple, nor as a fortress. It was a gilded cage. The emperor ordered all the local chieftains and their families to relocate to this stone city. It sounds like an honor, but in reality, it was about control. On the artificial islands, there were no sources of fresh water, nor any means of growing food. Everything, from coconuts to a sip of water, had to be transported by boat from the mainland. The chieftains were rendered completely dependent on the emperor. If anyone contemplated rebellion, their food supplies would simply be cut off. Nan Madol, perhaps history's first elite concentration camp, where architecture served as an instrument of absolute tyranny. The engineers of Nan Madol employed cunning to secure their workforce, but the creators of our next site possessed a mastery of materials that continues to baffle experts armed with even the most advanced laser technology. We return now to Egypt to descend into a subterranean realm more unsettling than any ancient curse. The pyramids of Giza and the Sphinx are known the world over, but the true enigma of Egypt lies not beneath the scorching sun, but deep underground, at a place called the Serapeum of Saqqara. The story of its discovery could be straight from a Hollywood blockbuster. In 1850, the French archaeologist Auguste Mariette stumbled upon the head of a sphinx protruding from the sand. He began to excavate, unearthing an avenue of statues that led him to a sealed entrance to a subterranean complex. To breach it, Mariette was forced to use explosives. So formidable was the stone barrier guarding the passage. When the dust settled and the archaeologists, armed with torches, ventured inside, they found themselves in a world of perpetual darkness and silence. Galleries stretched for hundreds of meters, hewn directly from the bedrock, but it was what stood in the niches along the walls that stopped the explorers in their tracks. 24 colossal sarcophagi, crafted from black, pink, and gray granite. The dimensions of these containers defy comprehension. Each is approximately 4 meters long, with a height exceeding 3 meters. The weight? Between 70 and 100 tons apiece. That's equivalent to 2 battle tanks, or a herd of elephants. And atop each rests a lid weighing a staggering 30 tons. As Mariette approached one of the sarcophagi, he noticed a detail that sent a chill down his spine. The undisturbed layer of dust on the floor bore the footprints of the workers who had departed this place 3,000 years before. This meant that the site had never been looted. The sarcophagi remained sealed. The archaeologists were certain that inside lay the mummified remains of sacred Apis bulls, adorned with gold and precious jewels. But when, with immense effort, a lid was finally moved, they found only emptiness, a void. No bones, no gold, not even dust, just perfectly polished black stone. This very fact, the emptiness within these incredibly complex ancient containers, has given rise to countless theories. Why create a vault weighing 100 tons if it holds nothing at all? And here we arrive at the quality of workmanship, seemingly impossible to achieve with mere chisels and hammers. Engineer Christopher Dunn, who studied the Serapeum extensively, placed a precision square against the wall of a sarcophagus and found no gap. The surface was flawlessly smooth, with a margin of error measured in fractions of a human hair. Furthermore, the internal angles were perfect 90-degree angles. Try to envision this. A stonemason, confined within a granite box, working by the dim light of an oil lamp, meticulously polishing the hardest of stones to achieve optical precision. One wrong move, and the surface is ruined. Proponents of alternative history are convinced that the Serapeum is a technological site. The sarcophagi are made of granite, which is rich in quartz. Quartz, when compressed, can generate electricity. The theory suggests that these boxes may have been components of a gigantic battery or even a teleportation device. Others believe they served as shelters to preserve the gene pool from radiation, the thick granite acting as an effective shield. Or perhaps the beings they once housed simply teleported or ascended, leaving their capsules empty. Egyptologists, of course, dismiss the teleportation theories. They point to inscriptions found on some of the sarcophagi, crudely scratched hieroglyphs that stand in stark contrast to the flawless polish of the stone itself. Scholars believe these sarcophagi were crafted by Old Kingdom artisans, masters of long-lost techniques. Millennia later, their more primitive descendants discovered them and attempted to repurpose them for their own cults, awkwardly inscribing, quote, 1. As for the technology used, science suggests copper saws and an abrasive, either corundum or quartz sand. Experiments have demonstrated that copper can indeed cut granite, provided tons of sand are used, but the rate of cutting is agonizingly slow, just a few millimeters per hour. To create a single sarcophagus by hand would have required decades of continuous labor from an entire team of master craftsmen. But the central question, one that science has yet to answer satisfactorily, is logistics. The tunnels of the Serapeum are narrow, barely wide enough for two people to pass. How were these 100-ton blocks dragged inside? How were they turned at right angles in such confined corridors? And, most importantly, how were the sarcophagi lowered into niches that are below floor level, and then precisely covered with 30-ton lids, all without the aid of hydraulics? The gap between the niche wall and the sarcophagus is sometimes a mere 40 centimeters. There simply isn't room for levers or enough people to maneuver them. The Serapeum remains perhaps the most perplexing artifact for historians, because what we see is a result that would be incredibly difficult to replicate even with our modern cranes and machinery. Today we have journeyed far, witnessing a pyramid older than history itself. We descended 18 stories beneath the earth in Turkey and grappled with the logic of builders who moved mountains in India and Egypt. These sites, scattered across continents, share a single compelling thread. They defy our very understanding of what is possible. It's tempting to attribute these wonders to extraterrestrial intervention or arcane magic. But a far more challenging and ultimately more rewarding truth lies before us. The people of the ancient world were not primitive. They lacked our iPhones, our lasers, our internet, yes, but they possessed something profoundly absent in our modern age: time, patience, and an unwavering purpose, a cause for which they were willing to labor for generations. Gazing upon these megaliths, we are confronted with the staggering potential of humankind. Perhaps we haven't lost the technologies of the past. Perhaps we have simply forgotten what humanity is capable of when driven by belief, not algorithms. And who knows what our descendants will unearth 10,000 years from now in the very places where our cities stand. Will they too marvel at our achievements, or will they deem them an enigma, impossible to decipher? Which of these structures has captivated you the most? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And be sure to subscribe, because history safeguards countless secrets waiting to be unveiled. Until next time.